And now for something a little different. What's going on, everyone? We are using an aggro deck today, using a lot of new Opus 16 cards. Aggro is probably my least favorite playstyle. I really don't like doing it, but for some reason I was just kind of inspired to try a list with a lot of these new cards. So here we have our main man, Laswell. He's going to be kind of part of our aggro/knight engine, and I'm going to show off some of the new things we have as well. So we've got... Laswell says, anytime a job knight enters a field, you get to dull freeze any character. And I just thought, well, what would it be like to just start slamming this stuff out? So if you're lucky enough to get Laswell in your opening hand, Laswell into Agrius. Sometimes I've seen people do Agrius first, then bring Laswell in main phase after she's already attacked, and you'll get that discard effect, and you'll still get the dull freeze, which is quite nice. And this deck, unlike some of my other decks, have a lot more crystal generation, so we can much more reliably get Rams online. And so if turn one, let's say you've somehow got your 2 crystals and you can just drop Rams at a go. Crystal, okay, now he's this big beater who's just going to start beating your face down, and good luck removing him. Another kind of show some of this little package right here, more knights. Charlotte is really good because you want to protect the Laswell. She's a good way to draw focus fire from him. Or even the Rams if they're going to try to get rid of it with Typhon or something that, you know, when it's going to get around his power and his battle damage. So, again, this is a list that there's not many backups in it. You want to just slap guys down, go at it, and start draining the resources. Agrius is quite nice because if they choose her, they're going to have to discard, so she's going to start draining the resources, and anytime she attacks, you're going to get a crystal back. One copy of Delita, he's just been kind of weird. Like, I'm still not really sure how to use this card. I put him in here just to try it. If you need a small amount of damage, it can be really nice. It can be a good combo with Squall, potentially. And again, the idea is you are trying to just kind of dump your hand out and go anyway. But he's one I'm not over the moon of. Mustadio, I do like quite a bit, especially if they're foolish enough to choose Agrius. You can then play Mustadio completely for free, because they have to discard. Bring him in for free. It bumps Agrius by 3,000 power if she wasn't already. And then Mustadio can hopefully dull one of their blockers or characters out of the way. And if he dies, he's going to get you another crystal, which we can use to fuel our Ramses. Pedal to the metal. 3 copies of Shulk. In testing, this hasn't worked as well as I would like it to, but I still think the idea and the potential is there, is that if you're going aggro, you're going ham, what's going to stop you? Big board wipes, right? You know, auto abilities, basically. Titan, Lord of Crags. Shantoto. Susano, Lord of the Revel. Philia. And as long as you have the other copy of Shulk in hand, you have got the ability to just cancel any of those auto effects. She also does prevent power reduction on your side and power gain on your opponent's side. At least in testing, I haven't really found that to be relevant. Maybe if they're using something like Leviathan, I don't know, maybe she could be relevant there. But either way, she's just there for the protection. I've really liked Morrow in here as well. Not only does he have haste, so he adds to the aggro feel, he can party with anyone, and when you party, you can discard a card to draw 2 cards, and I've really found that nice to, again, help get through the deck quickly. You're not playing it safe. You want to rip through this thing as quick as you can, and Morrow helping you do that's great, and then damage 5 if you get there and you're still around somehow. You can just kick him back in the face. Warrior of Light. I can't ever draw this card, which is very frustrating, but he is there that, again, on their turn, if they go for that board wipe, you can break the warrior, remove a Warrior Light from the game. None of your stuff can be broken to the end of the turn. Not only have you survived that turn, you've survived their big hit. They can't even get through you in combat that turn. Doesn't work, unfortunately, against something like Shantoto, but he will stop all those other board wipes. Squall is one that, like, I don't know. It's kind of funny, because I think a lot of people thought this card sucked when it came out, and now it seems like a lot of folks are high on it. I'm still just kind of on it, but I also think I've just been unfortunate to test him in a very anti-Squall environment. I've gone against a lot of Braska lists, a lot of lists that just have really easy removal that I'll drop the Squall, he's ready to go in, and they go, Braska, okay, cool, discard 2 summons, you know, kill him before he attacks. Or, here comes Squall, and they'll just Amaterasu it, and he's the right value, so he just dies. If he can get going, I do appreciate the pressure he can put on your opponent that he basically says you can't block or they're going to get themselves board wiped, which is nice. Again, he hasn't been super duper successful for me, but maybe I've just had bad matchups. But again, he does fit the aggro style of he should always have haste because you're probably not going to have many cards in hand. And if you're lucky and you get your opponent's cards to 0 as well, then he probably wins you the game on the spot. 2 copies of Shantoto. We have plenty of crystals in here, so you can easily just dole out their board to say, yep, yeah, you thought you were going to block. I don't think so. Now everybody's coming in. If you can get their hand low through things like the last well discard, then, or maybe if they chose Agrius enough, you can play her for cheaper. But she's also nice. She can get back any of these characters. So if you need the Key Laswell, the Charlotte, the Squall, the Warrior Light if he died somehow, she can pull that back. But again, with all the crystals, you can easily use her hand dull ability. And that's all the new stuff. I'm going to show you some old stuff to complement it. Here's Vayne. He's basically here for color fixing. I have never cast him once because he doesn't do anything on entry. Yeah, he's a body. Yes, he'll make him discard when he attacks, but I honestly just like it because it's color fixing. And again, when you're trying to jam all these cards out, you want to have the right colors for it. So 1 copy of Argath. He's a discard on entry, but he also does buff Agrius. So if you turn 1, just go Argath Agrius. She's already in 8k. They've already dropped a card from hand. Only 1 copy of Zidane. I tried more originally, but I found without something like Snow or a way to get through forwards, it's really hard to get him in for his damage trigger. Again, especially because you're going pedal to the metal here. He's better as like the crackback that, they swung in with something, now he can come down, hit him, and then target the thing that was dull. But you're the one putting on the pressure, so they're probably not going to have a lot of dull forwards. They're going to have a lot of blockers. 3 copies of Terra. She's here to get back the only summon in this deck that matters, because it's also the only one in here, and that's 3 copies of Amaterasu. Between the Amaterasu and hopefully the Shulk, again, hopefully you can stop enough of their big stuff. It won't stop any big summons, so if they have something like Bahamut Zero or Hekaton Kyre, that you're still going to struggle with. But you need to protect yourself from those big board wipes. And this is another reason I think this deck has struggled against something like Braska's. Braska's isn't actually casting summons, nor is he using auto abilities. He's just using his special abilities, so unfortunately, these cards are quite weak to that deck. Another one I've toyed with is Sid Randell. What I like about him is that you don't think of him as an aggro card, of course, but if their deck is heavily reliant on enter the battlefield effects, especially from their forwards, he's just going to shut that off completely. So I've gone for, turn 1, let's do Laswell into Agrius. Okay, turn 2, drop Sid Randell. Now, if they're planning to hit me with something that, on entry, break that, I was going to Robel Akbel you, or they're playing Soirees, I was going to hit you with the Adele or the Meryl. It just shuts that off entirely, which is great. Again, we'll struggle against something like Braska's where they don't really care about auto abilities, but if that's what their goal is, this is going to put a big stop to it. Orphan is another card you're happy. The earlier you drop this, the better. He kind of puts them on a clock, so to speak, in the sense that he's like, you're not going to block, because I'm just going to dull whatever you put in front of us out of the way, and I'm going to keep eating at your hand. And if you get him and these out together, then you actually can really take their hand down. And that's it. That's the entire forward lineup with just 3 summons. For backups, we're running 2 of the Moogle. He's just there because he can color fix. 2 of the Samurai. Another cheap, repeatable way to get crystals. 3 of the Knights. Again, another cheap, repeatable way to get crystals. And 2 Duke Larg. We'll buff all your ice forwards by 1,000, which is quite nice. And if Duke Larg and Agrius are out there alone, then Agrius becomes 9,000 just with him because he is a tactics character. Now, there's only 10 backups in the entire deck. And if you're like me, you have to be careful about not accidentally trying to play this as a mid-range deck. Because I've caught myself doing that sometimes. Like, I'll just put my backups down and da-da-da-da-da. And by that time, they've already set up enough to whatever it is that I don't put that pressure on them. Really, the backups are there for, let's say you go first. And you just don't have anything, you don't really want to drop Laswell on the very first turn when he has nothing to dull freeze. That's a good time. Well, here, let me put down one of those backups. Now I do have a little more efficiency, so I don't just completely burn out later in the game. But yeah, don't hesitate to maybe pitch some of these. Like, nope, I got to go in with these guys. So this has been probably my most frustrating list that I've tested with, even though it is fun. Again, it's weird. I'm not really an aggro player, so style-wise, it's kind of weird, but I do enjoy it too. It's fun to see people try to solve the puzzle, and when it lines up, it does feel good when you can counterattack and stop whatever their ability is, when you can Amaterasu it. Again, against certain things like Braska's, which doesn't care about auto abilities and just has a field effect that says, yeah, whatever, I'm just going to nuke your stuff out of oblivion. That feels really bad. But other than that, I have very much enjoyed it. I just kind of wanted to see how an Ice Fire kind of Knights build would do aggro-wise. And I won't lie, sometimes it really falls apart. You just completely run out of gas or you just see a bad combination of cards. But when it can put on the right pressure, it is also very satisfying to pull off. So let me know what you think. I will put the deck list in the description below. And as always, take care.